Colin Powell has called for universal health care in the United States. The Puget Sound Business Journal writes that former Secretary of State and longtime Republican Colin Powell is calling for a universal health care solution in the United States. He says, quote, "We are a wealthy enough country with the capacity to make sure that every one of our fellow citizens has access to quality health care. Let's show the rest of the world what our democratic system is all about and how we take care of all our citizens." It's funny because last week, or maybe even earlier this week, I said, Lewis, the U.S. is supposedly the most advanced and best country in the world, and we can't even provide everybody with health care. And I got 10 or 20 emails saying, oh, more evidence that Pakman's a communist. Colin Powell has basically said what I said word for word. He is, I guess, a Republican, although these stories about how Powell is one of the few reasonable Republicans left, I don't know if they're relevant, because if you vote for President Obama and support universal health care, practically speaking, you're not really much of a Republican in today's modern American political system, are you?
Right. I think he, of course, openly stating that he was voting for Obama. And after all of that, you have to assume that the right has probably lost interest in anything Colin Powell has to say.
Well, that's the thing. It's funny because you have individuals. Let's step back for a second, right? We have a political system where certain individuals are trusted because of who they are or taken seriously, and certain individuals are not. So, for example, Sarah Palin is someone that even many Republicans don't really trust because they realize she can barely put together a sentence. She has such a lack of understanding of even the most basic political issues. She just simply doesn't seem competent. However, Colin Powell is someone who for a long, long time was very well respected by the Republican establishment. He went up there and he made that horrible, deceitful case for war in Iraq, and he has faced at least certain repercussions for that, although maybe not what he was deserving of. And instantly, as soon as he says, well, actually, I think President Obama is the better choice over John McCain, or I think President Obama is the better choice over Mitt Romney, and now calling for universal health care, all of a sudden, the right seems not to care too much about what Colin Powell says. It's almost like you've been discredited because you failed a litmus test, so to speak. But I don't think that's unique to the right. I think both sides are pretty quick to write off a longtime insider, so to speak, when on 1, 2, or 3 key issues, they no longer agree with you.
Like Lieberman?
Joe Lieberman's a good example of that. Yeah, but the difference there, I think, well, no, is there a difference? I'm not sure. I mean, certainly from my point of view, Joe Lieberman just went completely off the rails, whereas Colin Powell seems to be coming down to earth and thinking logically. But I do have to try to be open and think about it from the other side. Is there any practical difference between Colin Powell and Joe Lieberman? Well, I think that one difference, Lewis, is that Joe Lieberman started as an elected official helping or working with the other side, so to speak, and abandoning those who elected him, whereas Colin Powell is not in that position. And in fact, maybe that's why so many people did respect him, because he was kind of the military guy who's been appointed, and he is a professional. And yes, he happens to be a Republican, but we trust him. So I think there is a difference to be pointed out there with Lieberman.
Maybe. I just hope the right actually listens to Colin Powell and starts to not be as afraid of the idea of universal health care as they have been.
All right, let's take a break. Coming up next, I'll talk to constitutional law professor Adam Winkler. There's a controversy already ramping up pre-Super Bowl where the NFL has rejected an ad submitted by a firearm manufacturer named Daniel Defense. We will talk to attorney Adam Winkler about this right after the break.